I'm joined today by the multi-talented visual artist, Edwin Hollett. Welcome to Gallery 902.
Thank you.
Edwin, I'd love to start by talking a little bit about your history with the sea, because it really goes back as far as your grandfather. Yes?
Yeah, both of my grandfathers fished, and they fished on, big schooners, some of them tall ships.
Oh, wow.
And, they fished all their life. So that's where I was, and I lived by the sea, so that's what made me interested. It was always, and my dad always had boats too, even though he worked at something else. But he always had a little net out somewhere or fishing, and he would see another boat, he would get another one, a little bigger or whatever.
How many boats do you think he owned?
Oh my, at least over a dozen anyway, yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you obviously went out with him often.
Yes, yeah.
And that influence is in everything.
Yeah, remember when I went with him one time and we got lost in the fog because it was, navigating thing to bring them back in and give out, right? So the compass really is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, so that gave out.
Yeah, so we were in the sea and we couldn't, it was really, really heavy. And so he got his instructions by another fisherman out as they met, right? And so we would go down and come up. So we finally figured it out and we came into the box.
That's incredible. How old would you have been at that time?
I was probably 10 or 11, probably, yeah.
Were you a little frightened or were you just more?
I was scared.
You were scared.
Scared.
But that's incredible that your dad was able to navigate that way.
Navigate that, yeah.
Wow, you're telling that story, and when I look at some of these paintings, I can see that movement, in a storm, that probably stayed with you.
It did.
You feeling that.
Yeah, and like I get on, I'll paint some of those boats, and while I'm painting that boat, I'm on that boat, really.
And so your dad would have also grown up on boats.
Oh, yeah.
His dad.
Yeah. Yeah, he went to sea. My goodness, I don't think he was 10 years old when he used to go with his dad.
That's amazing.
Yeah, to fish.
That's a huge history there. And to be on the tall ships.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so, they had big schooners, big mast schooners. And yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And you were able to go on the tall ships as well?
No, I didn't myself because mostly after Dad would have smaller boats, right?
Yes.
But they themselves fished them. Yeah.
That's an incredible history. Do you feel that's probably influenced a lot? Because when I look at all of your paintings, really it's ships, seas, and streetscapes.
Yeah.
It's.
I love doing the sea, and I just love ships. I get books on ships, and I see anything I get really involved with it. So, and that's what I enjoy painting. Like I do a tall ship, most generally I sell it,
Quickly.
Quickly.
The detail. It's amazing. You just put everything into it.
Yeah, I try. It's always room for improvement.
I think you're constantly growing, everyone. I think you've perfected this. I love a quote that you have, that it's really important to you to put forth that historical point of view in your paintings.
I love, because when I look back at the history, say even they don't make buildings like that today in the street scenes or, the whole ships had gracefulness. They were
grand.
Grand, they were, yeah.
And I think a lot of the landscape is being lost because we're building up, and so we're losing the view. So a lot of your historical paintings really show us. I think we're going to look at one a little later on to see a space, what it originally looked like compared to once it was taken over by commercial buildings.
Right.
We'll take a peek at that.
Yes.
I really wanted to touch on, how did you end up in Nova Scotia?
Well, I went to a convention in Sydney, and my wife was there too, or I met her. And I drove around in the morning, and I told my brother, I said, I liked the look of her, you know, she had long blonde hair. So we got introduced, and the rest is history, really. But I stayed, I'd come to Nova Scotia to visit her, she would come.
And you came from Newfoundland?
Yeah, Port aux Basques. Yeah.
Port aux Basques.
Where the ferry comes in, yeah. So probably we dated probably for a little too long, but anyway.
But you were traveling back and forth.
She used to come, we'd stay, I'd come over.
That's love at first sight.
It was.
And so you are now at 53 years? That's
married.
Amazing. That's incredible. And you're both, I had the pleasure of meeting your wife, Polly, and I can just see how close you guys still are.
Yes, very close. And she's a good inspiration for me, too.
That's what I was going to ask. The support.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Especially because you were able to achieve one of your dreams and open a gallery.
I did, yeah. I opened in Wolfville, and I stayed there for a few years. And then I moved closer to Falls Harbor.
And that's where you are.
That's where I live now. Yeah.
I think you and Polly opened up 2 locations. Yeah, it's a gallery for a little bit.
Yeah, well, so like I said, we were in Wolfville, and then we moved to Falls Harbor.
That's wonderful. And that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
May I ask, because I know that COVID had affected every artist a little differently. Did your galleries, were they able to continue on through COVID?
No, I had closed it just before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it got too much. So what I do now is just put them in different galleries, right? Like this one and other ones, yeah.
That's something I'd love to touch on too. When you first approached a gallery with your pieces, how did you feel? When you were younger, did you feel nervous when you first started out?
Very nervous, yeah.
Before you had your...
Didn't have confidence.
Because it's already such a vulnerable thing to put that forward.
Yeah.
Can I ask, do you remember when your first showing was? Like, how old were you when you first appeared in a gallery?
Oh my. I was, when I first got married, I guess, yeah.
So you had that extra confidence?
Yeah, I had a little extra then.
That's right. I love that. Would you say, like, how many showings do you think you've had to date in aside from your own, of course, your own gallery?
Oh, I've had a lot. Let's put it that way.
Edwin, something that is very exciting about your work life is you have really done more than one career. You've had several careers, and one of those was in the film industry. Would you share some stories with us?
I'll try if I can think of them.
Give us the juicy details, too.
No, I can remember probably my second movie I ever worked on was work with Ron James. And, you know, the comedian he is. But the things he would pull, you know, you get on the table. And it don't matter if you were eating or whatever, he had a joke to tell. That's the kind of person he was, you know. And I enjoyed the buildings that they made, you know, like half buildings, but you stood back and the smoke coming out of them or whatever. Said, you know, it was amazing. It looked like the real thing, a real little town. And I was amazed with that stuff, and they helped build some of that, so. Yeah.
The set design crew is astounding what they can do. And they are truly the friendliest group of people, like on set, always willing to lend a hand. I like that you were also involved in that as well.
Yes, I was.
Because you love the history.
Yes, I do. And like I did, if there's any sign work to do, I did the sign work or a mural or whatever, you know.
Tell us about that, because you had an actual signage.
I painted in between, but to supply, I mean, I had 3 kids, so you had to, paintings didn't cover it all the time. So I started my own sign business, my own building,
I love that. Obviously, you were very successful for the film industry to reach out and say, come, Edwin, and work with us.
Yeah. So, I got a call from a guy one day. He says, we're trying to making this little movie in Windsor down here. We need a sign painter. So I went in, there was, I mean, I'm not bragging about this.
It's okay.
Some could not paint, but he had to get this done. So by the end, I think we started at 7 o'clock, and by 11, I was the only one standing around painting.
Still go.
Because he sent them somewhere else. But I mean, that's because I was doing it every day, right? I was fast at it, and I knew what I was doing. But some other ones didn't ever picked up a brush probably in their life, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you also would have had good time management at that time. And you enjoyed what you were doing.
Oh, I enjoy it totally, yeah.
Makes a difference.
Yeah.
So 35 movies later, that's a lot. And I think you've worked with you worked with Meatloaf?
Yeah, I love working with, Meatloaf it was an interesting movie, let's put it that way. Probably should leave it right there, but.
But such an icon.
Yes.
Like wonderful
yes.
to be able to.
Oh yeah,
have that
fantastic.
time, yeah.
And I love the silly movies.
Were you on, because he was obviously here, we worked together on a few of his
Yes.
seasons. How many did you do?
I worked on 5 of them, I guess, yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, because I was working on another one when he would come in and do probably the 6th section, you know.
I love it.
But he's an interesting guy.
Very busy.
Very busy.
Very busy.
But he's very kind, too, yeah.
Very good to everyone. And outside of work as well, you know,
Yeah.
taking that time to, to be sociable.
And I had a chance to meet Harrison Ford
Wonderful.
briefly, you know. And it was only me and him in the shop at the time, so. But he was I guess he wanted to see the carpenter shop because that's what he did years
Exactly.
ago.
That's
yeah.
how we started.
Yeah, so he was interesting to talk to too. So,
That's nice. You had private one-on-one time.
yeah. So, yeah, I had a great time in the movies, yeah. And then it got, you know, in the later years, a little too much tension. I guess I left. But, you know, I think the last one I worked on was Fitz.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's a great series.
Yeah, with, worked on a couple of them, and then I just put full time at this stuff.
You decided it was time.
That was time.
Yeah, to do this. Now, do you find as well, Polly really helps you with the management of?
Oh yeah, definitely. I couldn't do it without my wife with that, doing this thing, taking care of things, and.
Because really, there's a huge business aspect to it. Right?
Yeah, there's a lot of things involved. Yeah.
And especially with your showings and keeping track
Yeah.
of your inventory,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so it is a lot.
So she, great help to me. Yeah.
Love that. Edwin, this is really my favorite part of our show, where we've asked our artists to bring something that's special to them or influenced them or inspired them in some way. And you were able to go through your archives at home, and you brought an amazing piece to share with everyone today. Could you start us off with this first one?
Yeah, it's, I would say it's my first painting that I ever did. I was about 10 years old. And as you can see, it's a boat again. But I put my own colors in it because it's just a sketch, right, that I saw.
So really, Edwin, when I just look at the tone of this and the feel, I kind of remember the story that you told me about your dad and being on the ship and how your dad had to really just rely on his own skills to regain control again. Do you feel that maybe a bit of that, you know, came out in this picture?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, a little bit there. I often think of that particular time, so.
Definitely.
Yeah, especially sometimes when I'm dealing with a rough sea, I'll think about that situation there, right?
It's also incredible that you've kept this all these years.
Yeah.
So obviously this meant so much to you and was very special. Can I ask who the first person was that you showed this to after you did it?
My mom and dad.
What did they say?
Oh, they just loved it.
Did they even know that you could do this?
Oh, yeah. They knew
Tell me.
that I was painting and drawing, you know, all the time.
Yes.
But this was something new for them, yeah, that I was painting,
You're like, oh, look what I did.
yeah. So it inspired me to do other paintings, right? So that's
Well,
where I got started.
I think seeing this, they probably really became so excited that to push you probably towards painting. Thank you for bringing it and hanging on to it. That's an incredible piece to be able to hand down to your children.
You're welcome.
Edwin, I know that you brought another special piece. I'll bring this one. This is amazing.
Now, this is a palette. I often, people sometimes ask you to, save the palette for me or whatever, right? Off the painting, what you did.
Like a commissioned piece.
Yeah, like they want this to go with the painting, but this particular one here is a friend of mine. He's a collector of my paintings. And I don't know, I think it's a half a dozen or more paintings that I've touched with this. So I'm just going to put a little plaque and give it to him.
Incredible. What a beautiful gift. Edwin, this is the exciting part of the show where you get to describe the paintings that we're surrounded by. This is your showcase here in the gallery. And I'm really excited to find out this technique. And how did that come about?
With that one and many more, I would go, like this actual here, some of that wood is from Arborville itself, right? From years ago. There's still pieces laying around.
How did you come to have it in your possession?
Well,
Is there a story there?
I would, get pieces and I would grind it up like sawdust or whatever. Because in the picture, from this picture, there's all kinds of relics and pieces of boats and whatever. So I just added that to my paintings, right?
So you just took it home and smoothed everything. And then
Yeah, I would paint it over and make sure it was in there, and then I would do my effects after. Yeah.
and the one up in the corner as well.
Yes, that one the same way. Yeah.
So would you have the idea first of an actual place that you were interested in, and you would visit there to see if there was anything or pieces? How did it?
I often do that. Yeah, if I see something, if it's it was a shipyard some one time, or there's something of interest that I wanted to paint it, especially if it was old, I would try to incorporate that in my painting.
So you're taking home an actual piece of history with your art. Does that take you a little bit longer when you decide to?
Not really,
You probably find that more exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting, yeah. Because you just don't actually put it on. You gotta blend those colors in and make it look real, right? Yeah.
It takes more work.
Takes more work.
But you love that. Tell us a little bit more about some other styles that you have here.
Well, basically, I only do this basically with older paintings, right? Some of my newer work or something, I wouldn't do it with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you also, I think, branched out a little bit into doing wildlife.
Yes, I have. I love doing horses and, wildlife, birds, yeah.
Do the horses come from when your wife was on the farm?
They never really had horses on the farm, but there's many horses around here, right? And people commission me to do horses. In fact, I'm working at one now. He required, because he got a lot of horses, and
You might have like a favorite one.
yeah. So he showed me the breed, and I showed him the picture, and he said, "Sure, go ahead."
So commission pieces, for you, is that something that you enjoy, or do you find it takes up a bit more time?
I rather do to sit at ease and paint myself, because when you get a commission work, you're always wondering if they're going to like this or whatever. So you're always under a little pressure more with commission work than you are painting.
I can understand that, and the time frame too.
Yes, yeah.
Not as much for you.
Some people want it right away, and I don't like working under pressure. I don't think anybody did.
But it's such an honor to be commissioned.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Do you remember the first time you were asked?
Yeah, I can remember, yeah.
How did you feel?
I was excited at the time, you know, that somebody actually wants me to paint something for them. But then after, you know, you get to make a living with it, and it gets a little more tedious.
So Edwin, this is really a special treat for you to share the beginnings of your new work. I know that can feel probably very vulnerable, but for all of us, just for you to be able to describe this process and how it ends up being these masterpieces on the wall, take your time and really pull us through these moments that are here.
Well, this one here is Halifax. Around the turn of the century, I've got a lot of old pictures of Halifax. So I start out, I rough it out, and eventually I probably do my skies first, you know, and then a lot of my water. And
those would be the initials.
yes, to make sure, because once you're doing a ship, and you start putting the sails and the ropes on, then it's hard to go back, you know. You can, but it takes time, right?
Correct.
So I just rough it out first and then go from there. Yeah.
And talk to us a little bit about the shading and the colors. Like, what do you?
If you look at the whole way they used to do the colors, there wasn't like a lot of paint. A lot of people painted it was a shed or a fish shack over their houses. They would all, a lot of them would do it the same color, right? And there's not a lot of paintings from the 1800s really that you can take things from. So, but
Like supply? Was it a supply issue? Is that sort of, or just what they had available to make?
what they had to value, yeah, to do, and you see a lot of the whole masters, they all painted the same, you know, darker tones. Yeah.
I love that. That really gives, again, that historical feel.
But eventually it'll come out looking like the one behind you. Yeah.
So your idea for this one, where did it come from? Was it a picture or just you were walking
Well,
down?
I take, sometimes I'll take it right off the photograph, but I got so, like this one here now, I've got, I took some section I'm going to out of one painting, I'll had that one boat, or I might change from another picture, I'll have another boat, so it'll be original, right?
I love that.
Mine. Yeah.
A lot of your memories and
Because
experiences.
if I did it from the picture from the archive, say, then I would have to say taken from, painted by me, but it was from the archive picture.
See, that's a little information we didn't know. Again, Evan, thank you so much for sharing your new work, and I can't wait to see it when it's all done.
Okay. Thank you.